Most people believe they are capable of deep work. They assume they just need more discipline, more motivation, or better time management. But that belief is dead wrong. The reason 99% of people will never experience true deep work isn't laziness or a lack of intelligence. It's not even a lack of ambition. It's human biology itself. Once you understand what's actually happening inside your brain, you'll realize something powerful. Deep work is not about trying harder. It's about removing what's silently destroying your ability to focus. Let's first define what deep work really is. Deep work is not simply working without your phone on your desk or using special techniques like setting a Pomodoro timer, and it's definitely not being busy or feeling productive. True deep work is a natural cognitive state where your full attention locks onto one demanding task. Not too difficult, nor too easy. Distractions fade into the background. Time begins to disappear. Suddenly, the quality of your outputs increase dramatically. This concept was popularized by Cal Newport, who described deep work as the ability to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks. But what most people miss is this. Deep work is not just a productivity technique. It is a neurological state, but most modern brains are no longer conditioned to enter it easily. Now ask yourself something with full transparency. When was the last time you worked for 90 uninterrupted minutes without checking your phone, without switching tabs, or without drifting into an easier task? For most people, that moment is rare. Your brain has been rewired by your environment. Every notification, every scroll, and every short-form video delivers a small spike of dopamine. Dopamine is not simply the pleasure chemical. It's what drives your motivation. It's the chemical which drives your anticipation and reward-seeking behavior. Once your brain becomes accustomed to frequent dopamine spikes, the brain weakens. Sustained effort begins to feel unusually difficult. Deep work requires delayed reward, but your brain has been trained to expect instant reward. This is why resistance appears the moment a task becomes slightly uncomfortable. But it's not necessarily a weakness. It is neuroadaptation, a natural response. Modern technology intensifies this problem. Infinite scrolling, auto-playing features, and constant notifications are all designed to break your attention span. So, when you sit down to focus on one demanding task, your brain will subtly suggest that there might be something more interesting elsewhere. That suggestion turns into a tab switch or a quick check of your phone, all from that feeling of discomfort. And just like that, depth disappears. Your brain is still capable of pure focus. It just simply requires the correct conditions. There are 5 essential conditions required for deep work stated from Cal Newport, and all are scientifically backed and consistent. If even one is missing, your focus collapses. If all 5 are present, deep work becomes a breeze to access. The first condition is cognitive singularity. Your brain can only prioritize one high-level objective at a time. What people call multitasking is actually rapid task switching. Each switch consumes mental energy and reduces cognitive momentum. And yes, you cannot notice it quickly. Deep work requires singular focus on one clearly defined objective. If you begin a session with multiple competing priorities, a long checklist, your attention fractures before depth can form. The second condition is a frictionless environment. Willpower is unreliable. On the other hand, your environment is predictable. If your phone is visible, even if you don't touch it, it occupies mental bandwidth. Studies have shown that the mere presence of a smartphone reduces available cognitive capacity. Your brain unconsciously reduces its power limit. Deep work requires removing friction entirely. This means placing your phone in another room, closing unnecessary tabs, silencing notifications, and clearing your entire workspace. You are not doing this because you lack discipline. You're doing it because your brain responds automatically to environmental signals. The third condition is optimal cognitive load. If a task is too easy, your mind drifts. If it is overwhelmingly difficult, your brain resists. Deep work lives in the tension zone between boredom and anxiety. This aligns with research from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who studied flow states extensively. When challenge and skill are balanced evenly, the brain enters its highest performance state. That balance does not mean equal difficulty. It means just enough stretch to demand full engagement. The fourth and the hardest condition is sustained time. This is where most people fail. They attempt deep work in small fragments between meetings, messages, and distractions. However, your brain requires time to settle into focus. For many people, it takes at least 10 to 20 minutes just to quiet mental noise. If you interrupt yourself before that threshold, you will never cross into depth. A proper deep work session session should last between 60 and 90 minutes. This duration allows immersion to develop fully. The fifth and often overlooked condition is dopamine stabilization. If you begin your day with high stimulation inputs like social media, fast-paced content, or reactive emails, you artificially spike dopamine early. As a result, cognitively demanding tasks comparatively feel dull and uninteresting. To access deep work more consistently, protect your dopamine before your first focus session. Avoid high stimulation input until after you complete meaningful work sessions. This simple shift can dramatically change your ability to engage deeply. Now here's something counterintuitive. Trying harder to focus actually makes focus worse. When you force attention with tension and frustration, you activate stress responses. Elevated stress narrows the cognitive flexibility and reduces creative problem-solving ability. The goal is not to strain yourself, the goal is absorption. But we need to make this real and practical. So here's an easy, scientifically proven deep work protocol you can begin using from right after this video. First, decide the single measurable outcome of the session. Instead of saying you will work on a project, define a specific result, such as writing 800 words or completing a defined section. You must be specific. Specificity eliminates ambiguity, and ambiguity weakens your focus. Second, remove friction completely. Place your phone outside the room. Close unrelated tabs. Shut the door. Set a timer for at least 60 minutes, preferably 90 minutes. This will make distraction physically inconvenient, forcing your brain to enter its focus mode. Third, begin smaller than you think necessary. Write one sentence. Solve one problem. Draft one outline point. Momentum reduces resistance, and resistance is the main barrier to starting. Fourth, commit to staying with the task. Do not check anything. The first 15 minutes may feel heavy, but if you remain with the task, something will shift. Your thoughts will sharpen. External thoughts and that uncomfortable feeling will fade. Immersion begins. Fifth, end the session deliberately. Stop before total exhaustion. Leave something slightly unfinished so your brain has a natural entry point for your next session. This builds continuity and makes returning to depth easier. Deep work is not just about output, it changes your identity. When you stack consistent deep work sessions, your attention span expands. Your confidence increases because you repeatedly prove to yourself that you can handle difficult challenges. Your learning speed accelerates. Most people operate in reactive mode. They respond to messages, scroll through feeds, and constantly shift attention. That's average nowadays. But deep work shifts you into proactive mode. You choose the target. You direct your attention deliberately. Over time, this effect compounds dramatically. One deep session won't transform your life, but hundreds of sessions definitely will. The difference between average and exceptional performers is rarely talent. It is sustained attention applied consistently over time. But there is one final variable that determines whether deep work remains sustainable. This is recovery. Deep work consumes mental energy and neurochemicals. Without proper sleep, physical movement, and mental downtime, your cognitive ceiling lowers. Ironically, periods of boredom restore attention capacity. Walks often produce clarity. Silence strengthens our thinking abilities. You never expect a car to run without fuel. Treat yourself the same way. The individuals who master deep work do not grind endlessly. They cycle between intensity and restoration cycles. This cycle allows them to maintain depth over years instead of burning out in months. Now consider the long-term implications. Imagine 1 year of fragmented attention filled with shallow tasks and constant distraction. Then imagine 1 year of daily deep work sessions focused on meaningful goals. The difference in skill, output, confidence, and opportunity would be enormous. This was a lot of information to consume, so to summarize, deep work requires 5 core conditions. First, cognitive singularity. Second, a frictionless environment. Third, optimal challenge. Fourth, sustained time. And fifth, stabilized dopamine levels. Protect these conditions and depth becomes accessible. Ignore them, and distraction remains your default operating system. And now that you understand the science behind it, the question is simple. Will you continue operating in shallow mode with mediocre performance, or will you deliberately train the rare skill of deep focus? The choice is yours. And if you want miles more of information that will actually help improve your reality, subscribe and we will provide.